Hey guys, you know what today is? It's Monday Morning Chats with Sack, and Sack is me. I hope that you guys had a good weekend. It's an extended weekend considering that today is Memorial Day. So definitely let's, keep in mind about the people that actually served our country that's no longer here. So this is a day to recognize them. But I hope that you guys had a good weekend. I had a good weekend, actually. I had a good week. So I'll tell you, this past week, I decided not to do any work. I decided not to go to work, and I decided to be with my family. So this past week, I was in Charlotte, North Carolina for 5 days, and I got a chance to spend time with family. And I can tell you that trip, it really softened my heart. It made me say more like, oh my God, oh wow. And I got a chance to see a family member that's sick. And one of the things that really touched me during my trip was going to a rehab center. And it's one thing where, you think about the things that you have in your life, and then you question, like, well, I don't have this, I don't have that. But sometimes you should be thankful for the things that you do have. And when I went to the rehab center, there were some people there that struggled to just move their arm like back and forth, or making steps, or just walking up steps. And when I was able to be in the rehab center, it allowed me to be appreciative of the things that I do have. And I just said, God, like after I left the rehab center to visit a family member, I said, God, if I ever complain about anything, like, I apologize. Like, I truly apologize, because like I have everything that I need right now. And just complaining, if I ever complain, I apologize, because I have breath in my body. I'm not sick. I can move around. I don't need anybody assistance. Like, I can do all these things on my own. And I remember at one point in my life where I couldn't do a lot of things on my own, when I had a pulmonary embolism, and I struggled getting out of bed to go to the restroom. Like, someone had to help me. And it made me think about that time, or the time where when I was a freshman in high school, I got into a bus accident. So I was on my way to school on the bus, and our bus got hit by a truck that was carrying a tractor trailer. And they were in the same lane as us, but going in a different direction. And so we were on the highway, and they hit us. If the trailer would have hit us just a little harder, we would have fell off the highway and pretty much fell like below. We could have died, right? And during that time, my right leg was messed up. So I had to go to physical therapy. So I remember what it's like where I couldn't move my leg. So it just brought me back to this place where I'm just like, just be grateful. Like, just be really, really grateful for the things that you do have. You be surprised. You may question and say, I don't have much. But to someone else looking at your life, they may say, damn, she has everything, or he has everything that I want. So today is the last day of May. I can say that this month was a really good month. I think it was, it was a good month for me. I can say that. Spiritually, yes. Physically, yes. I actually been in shape, working out. So I said spiritually, yes. Mentally, absolutely. And May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So if I look at those different things, like spiritually, this has been a good month for me. Mentally and emotionally, definitely has been a good month for me. And physically and emotionally, it's been a good month. And so I'm very appreciative of that. Yesterday was my mother's birthday. So Mom, if you're looking at this, happy belated birthday. I did say happy birthday to you, but I want you to know that I do love you, and let the whole world know that I love you and I cherish you. And I'm so appreciative that God chose you to be my mom. So if you're watching this, just know that I love you. My love for you runs deep, and I love you to life. So I just started to think I wanted to think about all the different things that I wanted to say today. And I think for me, what I would like to talk about is expressing your feelings and emotions, right? So my best friend, got married last year, and for her bridal shower, when it was time for me to speak, I was just telling her how happy I was for her, because I was really happy for her. I was really happy for my now brother. That's like my real brother. I was just happy on them coming together to be one. And when I was talking, tears started to come down my eyes, because I was excited, and it was sincere. It wasn't like me just crying so everyone can, like, I can be center of attention. Like, it was just, I was really happy. And I think one of the things I said to her, I was like, you look so beautiful, and I wish that your father can see you. And that's like when the tears start coming down, because I know her family, and that touched her too. But during the bridal shower, I was called Carl Thomas. Like, Sakina, I think you're emotional. And I said, what does emotional mean? Like, when you call someone emotional, like, what does that mean, right? So I just started thinking about it. And then moving in, that was last year. That was October 2020. And then moving into this year, I started to really pay attention to people. Like, I don't know, like, I just had like I got a sixth sense, but I think I had like a seventh sense, because I just started really paying attention to people. Like, this don't add up, or this doesn't sound right, this doesn't look right. And I just start thinking about these things, and I just start feeling things. I'm like, And it all started when I was in Charlotte this past week, and I asked one of my cousins, I was like, when was the last time you cried? And she was like, girl, I don't cry in front of nobody. I cry to myself. And I was like, I think one of the biggest questions I ask people now, like, have you ever been in therapy? Have you considered it? And it's not a question as to, like, say, like, something's wrong with you. But sometimes I question, do people really express how they feel? Or do they know how to express themselves? Or do they hold things in because they are afraid of how people may receive what they're saying? So I just started thinking about all these things. So the question I have to ask is, do you really express your feelings? And how do you do that? How do you go about doing that? I think one of the things that I've learned is that if I'm angry at somebody or upset, I'm not going to express myself, because I don't want to talk out of anger. I want to talk out of love. And, the Bible even says, be quick to listen, be slow to respond. And what that means to me is that just because someone says something to you, you don't have to respond right away. Because if you think about it, and people will say, that term, like, that saying where it says think before you speak. It's so true, because you never want to say something that you later regret. And people may forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And it's not saying that you're sugarcoating things, but I think it's a way of saying things. Like, let's say, for example, you think someone, what they did, they were being an asshole. Instead of you saying, like, hey, I think you were an asshole, you can say, hey, I think that your actions were somewhat inappropriate. And you can give them an example. I think that's a lot better than telling someone that they're an asshole, right? I think that's better. But really expressing how you feel. Like, how do you feel about different things? Do you have emotional triggers? Like, is it something that someone would do that will make you upset, that make you sad, that make you cry? Like, are you able to acknowledge those things? And if you're able to acknowledge those things, are you able to pinpoint to it and say, hey, when a person does this, this is what it does to me? I'll give you an example. So in my Bible study, one lady, she's like my big sis, she's a therapist, and I love her. And let me tell you, when she closed out in prayer, like, the Holy Spirit just gets me. I'm like, girl, you don't know what you're doing to me right now. But she said something to me, and it really made me think about it. I told her that I don't like when people yell at me. That bothers me. That really bothers me. And for so long, I try to figure out, okay, where does that stem from, right? Like, where does that actually stem from? And she said, and I was like, yeah, it bothers me. Like, that's a trigger to me. She said, if it's triggering to you, you didn't heal from it. And I was like, damn, that's deep. Like, if something really bothers me and it triggers me, I didn't heal from it. So I'm like, well, if you're trying to heal from something, where did it come from? Because if you're trying to heal from, you need to go to the root of it, like the root of the problem. And let me tell you, by all means, I am not a therapist. I never went to school for that. But this is just based on things I've read. I told you guys that I read a book, a self-help therapy book last year, and it really made me think about so much. And so when I thought about that, like, oh, damn, like, when people yell at me, like, this really bothers me, like, it shuts me down. Whether I'm at a job, if a boss, like, just yells at me, I just shut down. Or, like, a friend or whoever, if they just, like, yell and scream at me, like, I shut down. And I thought, like, damn, like, where does this come from? And when someone yells at me, I'm not trying to explain myself. I'm just like looking at them like I'm just dumb. Like in my mind, I'm thinking about different things, but I'm just like, okay, where does this come from? And I realized the root of the problem. It came from my childhood. My mom used to yell a lot and I didn't like it. And so that was something that I had to deal with. I had to process it and say, well, maybe this is how people communicate. But what do I need to do to make sure that this doesn't trigger me where I don't shut down? And I worked on that. So when people yell at me, I'm like, okay, are you done? It doesn't bother me. I'll tell you, like, hey, I think you need to tone it down. I think you need to turn it down a notch because you're loud. And I feel like there's another way to communicate with someone, right? Like there's another way to communicate. So I started thinking about these things. I'm like, this is another way of processing my feelings and figuring out my emotions. Like those things are important. And I just started listening to people, and it's so sad. And I actually had a conversation with someone yesterday, and I said it's so sad that we just live in this world where it's like, if you process your feelings or if you're expressing yourself, you're weak. That's not a weakness. That's a strength. And you'd be surprised, people will bottle up so much. It's like all this stuff just keep going up and 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 up. And then it's like when it gets all the way up here, they just explode. And I'm just like, damn, when did you start feeling like this? And if you start thinking about damn, so you start feeling like this 2 years ago. So all these feelings are building up and to the point where it's just I explode, right? I explode. And so I just started thinking Dad, we just live in this society where men are bashed for expressing their feelings or expressing their love. It's okay to be a fuckboy. Those are valuable. If you're someone that's loving, it's just damn, you don't need to be that way. Or women can be someone that's hey, I'm expressing how I feel. But then a hot girl gets praise. So it's just or it's this saying you catch flights, but don't catch feelings. But you can catch flights and catch feelings. What is the issue with that? And I was wow, we live in a society where it's you got to be cold and you can't express yourself, and not expressing yourself is that's a star. Now, please keep in mind, these are my opinions. I'm not here to argue with anybody, but this is based on what I have experienced, what I have seen, and what I have read, and what I have heard. And so it just makes me think, do we really know how to express ourselves? Do we really know how to express our feelings? And if not, what are we doing about that? I truly believe in really growing up, really maturing as a person. And sometimes you will see someone that you may assume that's very mature because maybe they're in a particular career and they're doing well in their career, but that's just their career. But what about them personally? And what I do find, when I read this book, it's called Healing Heterosexual Relationships Through Time, Touch, Talk, and Love. That book is by Dr. Richard Colin, and I swear by that book. And if you never went to therapy, you could start off by reading that book. That book is so important because how we show up in different relationships, most of it stems from our upbringing. That is so true. And it made me realize some things, and I had to own my truth. Oh, okay, I can see why this last thing didn't work out, or this previous or whatever. I was able to own my truth and be authentic with myself and say, okay, well, I should have expressed myself more. I should have said this. And you live and you learn. But what I realized in the book was some people still haven't healed from childhood trauma. And it really like took me back, like, wow, like explain more, doc. So I'm reading a book. You could be 40 years old, but like if you experience childhood trauma around like 10 or 12, even though your age is 40, you're still stuck in the mental space of a 10-year-old, because that's where your childhood trauma started. And you got to heal from that, because if you're not, it's like you could be a 40-year-old woman dealing with childhood trauma at 10 years old. So you're actually 40, but you had the mind of a 10-year-old because you never heal from that. And so I'll always be thinking, like, when I meet people, I'm like, wow. And after a while, some things will reveal itself, like, did this person ever like heal, or are they taking the necessary steps to say, damn, I got some shit with me that I need to deal with? And like, I'll be honest, like therapy, I love therapy and I swear by it. And I think that, and I'm an advocate for it. Like, I'm a big advocate for it, because a lot of times people say, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. Are you sure? Because we could have a good conversation. You'd be surprised at things that come out. And I'm just like, how do you know that you're okay? Because sometimes what I do find is that you are who you hang around. So you hang around people that's not shit, chances are you may not be shit either. And I say that because a lot of times we hang around people that validate our bad behavior. And if they do, they're just as bad as you. So how can you really improve, or how do you become a better person when you don't have nobody that's holding you accountable? Right? So this childhood trauma, right? So I remember, like, in therapy, and the one thing that my therapist would tell you is like, yo, Sakina's very aware of different things. Like, I'm not the person who's like, oh, I don't know what's going on for me. No, I know exactly, and I'm going to tell you why. And the thing for therapy is like, okay, well, how do I move forward, right? These are the steps I think I should take, but you're the expert here. Like, what is your advice on this? This is what I've noticed. This is what I experienced. One thing I told my therapist, I was like, this is my family. This is like a, if I had to tell you, explain how my family is on both sides, this is what it is. But this is what I want in my life. And I'm really big on breaking generational curses. So these are the things that I'm doing, but I need help to make sure that I'm doing it the right way. Because it's one thing to say, hey, I'm doing it this way. And to me, because it sounds good to me, it may sound good, but is it really good? And that's why I talk to my therapist, like, hey, like, is this the right way? And I can tell you, like, during therapy, like, I realized that there was some resentment that I had towards my parents, and it eventually came out. And I was like, damn, like, it's one thing to say you forgive somebody. It's one thing to say you forgive somebody and not be around them. And it's cool because you don't got to deal with it, right? But it's another thing when you say you forgive somebody. God will really test you and see how much you forgive when that person is in your presence. So, like, I'll give an example. Someone asked me, this was a few years ago. This was a few years ago. Someone said, like, you know, I know this last person, like, you know, the guy that you were with at this time, this like years ago. They was like, I know that you did love this person, but how would you feel if they got if they were married? Like, how would you feel like if they got married? And I was like, I should be okay with that. This was like, oh my God, I want to say probably like 10 years ago. And it's like, I know that you like did love this person. Like, how would you feel they got married? That person eventually got married. And I was like, I'm actually fine. But if you asked me that a while ago, when the heartbreak first started, like, oh, it was no forgiveness. Like, but I realized forgiveness is for me, not the other person. So I eventually ran into the person. I didn't feel anything. I'm like, hey, you know, I wish you well. And, you know, they told me sorry for all type of stuff, but I already forgave the person. But when I look at childhood trauma, I realized I had to forgive myself, forgive my parents. And there's a saying that says, your parents did what they could do at the time that they thought was best for them. People do what they think they know is best at that time. And I had to really understand that. And I think one of the biggest things for me was saying that, hey, My parents may still suffer with childhood trauma. I just don't know what it is. And it's about showing grace and knowing that sometimes people can't really show up for themselves, and really be okay with that and really understand that. And there's no judgment. And so that was one thing I acknowledged. Like, I told my therapist that, like, I acknowledged that. And now that I acknowledged that and I accepted that, the burden that I thought wasn't there was really there. And now it's off my shoulder. And I actually feel good about it. So now, like, you know, when people talk to me, they're not talking to someone that's still suffering from childhood trauma. Like, I've learned I buried certain things and I was able to, like, speak my truth. Like, no, this actually happened. This happened, or this happened, and this happened. And it allowed me to be free. So when people talk to me, they talk to the 34-year-old Sakina. Like, they're not talking to a child. Like, I am mentally aware. I am mentally present. I'm physically present. I'm emotionally present. So you could talk to me. I'm not going to bring up issues that still affect me. Like, no, I'm fine. It's a matter of moving forward. But I had to work on those things. And I'll tell you another story where somebody actually told me, like, hey, I'm 30-something years old. I still suffer from abandonment. And this person never likes to be alone. They don't like their own company. And the one thing, and I can tell by the conversation, like, hey, you want to hang out today? Or, hey, I don't like being alone. I can't be alone. And I told this person, like, well, hey, you know, you should learn how to be by yourself. Enjoy your own company. So when it's time to bring somebody in your life, you can appreciate their presence. Me, I like doing stuff by myself. I enjoy my own presence. I enjoy being by myself. And so that way, when there's another energy around me, I can appreciate it. If we're on the same, like, vibration, like, if you're, like, negative, I don't want to be around you. But if you're a good spirit, I can enjoy your company, right? And so I told this person, I said, well, I hope and pray that you learn how to enjoy your own company. And I was like, you know, well, have you ever considered therapy? And I said, listen, I'm not trying to be smart, but, you know, those things, like talking about your feelings, like, those things really matter. And I think that a therapist can really help you with that. Like, have you ever considered that? And the person was like, well, I have a spiritual advisor. I said, well, that's different. I said, you know, I talk to God every day, but I also talk to my therapist. Like, I need both of them. Like, my talking to God, it shows me grace. It shows me forgiveness. It talks about how I could get my peace. It gives me steps to how to live a godly life. But I need my therapist to help me process things. The things I think I may not know how to process, like, I need my therapist for that. So you can still love God, but still also have a therapist too. Like, it's not saying that you need one and not the other. No, you need both. And I said, have you ever considered that? And then a couple of weeks later, the person was like, yeah, I actually started therapy. I was like, praise God. That's so amazing. It's so amazing. So I think about all these things. And I'm like, do people really, like, do they really express themselves? Like, can they really be honest? Like, for me, some people will say, Sakina, like, I never forget, people will say, like, you know, oh, you shouldn't say this to a guy. No, if I feel a certain way, I'm going to say it. But it's how you say things, right? It's about your delivery and it's about your tone. But you should express yourself. Like, I'm a big believer where I tell anybody, we having a deep conversation, that your feelings are validated. Like, your feelings really matter. If you feel like someone hurt your feelings, you are entitled to say that. No one should never say, oh, you shouldn't feel this way. That's like a pet peeve of mine. Like, when someone says, I'm like, well, how are you telling me how I'm supposed to feel? Like, your feelings really matter. Like, if you feel hurt about something, like, that's absolutely okay. Like, that's absolutely okay. But express that. Like, don't hold that in. Like, if something hurts you, like, let that out. Like, let that out. Because it makes you a better person. And you don't want to be, like, with all these feelings, and it keeps rising and rising and rising and rising until you, like, explode. And now it's just like, who wants to be around that, right? So it's just like, express yourself. But do you know how to? Or do you want to? Or do you assume that people should know how you feel? Like, you see things on social media like, well, this person should know how I feel. Well, maybe they don't. And I think another thing for me is I was a communication study minor in college. And the one thing that I've learned is that, people can say things verbally, but you should look at the nonverbal communication. Like, how do people sit? They sit like this. Like, do they sit with their head up high? Do they have confidence? Like, or is their head always low? How they dress is important. These are things that you pick up on people. And just, it's just other things too. But, like, do you express yourself? Like I said before, like, somebody called me Carl Thomas. I'm like, no, I'm not Carl Thomas. I'm not an emotional person. My emotions are checked. Like, I can check my emotions. Like, that's not a issue to me. Like, I can express how I feel. There's some things where, hey, if this hurts, I may cry about it. If not, if it doesn't get me to that point, it's okay. And I tell people when they're having a deep conversation with me, I'm like, listen, your feelings are, I said, this is a safe place. This is a safe space for you. Your feelings are valued. They are validated. How you feel is respected. And you don't have to worry about me looking at you differently. You don't have to worry about me judging you because your feelings are valued. I may not agree with you, but I respect your opinion. I may not agree with how you feel, but your feelings are validated. And if that's how you feel, that's exactly how you feel. So my question to you is like, do you really express your feelings? How do you go about that? Who has helped you with that? Or are you willing to get help? Or do you assume that everybody should know how you feel? Do you feel like you're always right? You're not always right. You're not always right. Who's around you? How do you talk about people? How do you express your feelings about other people? Is it always negative? Is it always positive? How do you speak about negative things about other people? Like, when you're saying things like about a person that you may not like how do you talk bad about them without it being bad? Or do you just know how to just speak negative about other people? Here's one thing I would say. There's a person that I just really don't care for. It's a colleague of mine. And this person knows this. I mean, I shared it. But I think now, moving forward, if someone would ask me about this person, I would never go into details about what they have done. Now, if you went to school with me, you would know. But if I would have to explain it, I said, I just don't like this person's character. You could take it how you want to. You may ask me, what about the character? Well, what I may think, it should not affect how you feel about this person. You may love the person. You may love their character. But for me, I don't. I just don't like their character. But I would never, belittle the person. And no. Especially if we had a friendship before. I'm not going to do that. I'll just say, hey, I just don't like their character. You can take it how you want to. You can try to define it how you want to. But that's exactly what I would say. But that's because, I did the work myself. I wasn't always this person. I was not always this person. But I know how to express my feelings. I know how to express how I feel. If I'm hurt about something, I'll share that. Because I don't have all these emotions that just build up. I don't never want to have an outburst on somebody. I think it's important to really, own my truth, own my feelings. It's okay to feel how I feel. And you may not agree with it. I'm not asking you to agree. But it's okay to feel this way. Childhood trauma. I think that if that's something that somebody is dealing with, get help for that. But I'm telling you all these things because I've done it. I'm not a hypocrite telling you one thing and doing the opposite. No, I can express how I feel, and the person can understand. I'm a good communicator. If that's one thing someone will tell you, I'm a good communicator. I'm not going to make somebody feel bad. But before I have conversations with people, I actually do pray about it. I pray that this conversation goes well. This is the end result. And I'll figure out, God, how do I get there? But yeah, prayer works for me. I need it. So I pray before I have different conversations. I pray before I have interviews. I pray before I have a difficult meeting with my students. I do these things, and I tell you these things because I do it too. I express how I feel. I say it verbally. I also write it down. Sometimes I write in my journal. Like that started at an early age. But when I was 8 and 10, at that age, I thought no one would never listen to me. So I wrote everything down, but I didn't verbally communicate it. But now, as a emotionally mature adult, I can write out my feelings, but I could also verbally express those. But it took some time, but I got there, and I'm still there. And I keep practicing these things to stay there. So that is important. So I pray that if you are dealing with childhood trauma, like you still can't get over things that happened to you as a child, I just pray that you forgive yourself. We can't go back and change what happened to us in the past. Like we can't. Like for me, I wish I had a different upbringing. I wish that my parents were rich. But it didn't happen like that. But I thank God that I had the certain upbringing that I had, because it made me the woman I am today. Like, I'm a go-getter. Like, if someone tells me, like, hey, you can't do this, man, I'm going to do it. Every goal that I set out for myself, I actually went out and got it. But that's just who I am. But a part of that has to do with my upbringing. Like, it's one thing not to have much growing up in my early childhood. But it's another thing when you realize that and say, hey, I could either be a product of my environment, or I could be the rose that grew from concrete. I'm that rose that grew from concrete. If I set my eyes on something, I'm going to get it. No ifs, ands, no buts. There's no questioning myself. If I want it, I'm going to get it. If I want to be a mentally healthy person, I did the steps to get there. I did self-help therapy. I did therapy tools. I went to therapy because I want to be a great person. And a lot of times it's more than just being a successful attorney. I want to be mentally available. I want to be emotionally available. It doesn't matter how much money I make, but if I'm still dealing with shit that I didn't heal from, I'm still lacking something. And I think that's important. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter the type of car you drive. It doesn't matter the type of house you live in. If you didn't deal with stuff in your past, if you didn't accept yourself, if you didn't love yourself, if you didn't forgive maybe your parents or friends or things that hurt you as a child, as a teenager, as an adult, and you still live with that, it does not matter what you have right now. You can never reach your full potential until you are mentally healthy. And I really believe that. Once I got into the point where I'm just I accept who I am as a person. I accept who I am mentally. I accept the things I can't change. But I'm looking forward to being this better person. So when I look at dreams or aspirations or a hero, that's me. I look forward to see what I will be at 40, because I'm working to be the best damn Sakina ever. And then when I get to 40, I'm just damn, if I'm good now, I can only get better. So I look forward to when I turn 45. And then when I get to 45, I'm damn, I'm really dope. But, I'm still learning. I'm still growing. So I look forward to see what I will look like or what I will be when I turn 50. Yes, hurt people do hurt people. And sometimes hurt people can't receive love because they're so hurt and they're so built up with so much stuff that when someone's being genuine, it's like an attack, but it's really love. But if you don't heal from that, that's going to affect you. It's going to affect you internally. It's going to show externally. And then it's going to affect you not only in different relationships, but also at your job. And also how you handle day-to-day stuff. So I challenge you to check your emotions, check your feelings. It's okay to express yourself. That's not a bad thing. I catch feelings and I catch flights. I catch flights, okay? And I catch feelings. I'll tell somebody, hey, I do care about you. Or hey, I'll say, hey, there's some things that you did that, hey, I just can't fuck with. That's just not cool. I can't fuck with that. You did this, That's the word out. That's the sound I would make. I can't. I can't fuck with that. So yeah, like, it's okay to express how you feel. And I pray that even though this is May, this is the last day of May, and May is mental health awareness, like, I pray that you make your mental health a priority, not just for May, but every month. Like, I look forward to talking to my therapist. I can't wait till I talk to her. So I could tell her, like, girl, listen, you're going to be so proud of me. Listen, I read this scripture and I peeped some shit, and I'm going to tell you what I peeped. And let me tell you how I handled this. Like, and I think for me with therapy, it's like, I'm able to tell her, like, the full version, like, everything. Everybody else, they just get cliff notes. Like, so that's what happened. No, that's it. But yeah, I pray that you make your mental health a priority. Like, my peace, it is everything. Like, my name is Sakina, and it stands for tranquility and calm. And I'm the lady of peace. Like, that's what my name means. So if it's anything that's, like, interfering with my peace, like, I gotta, or if I'm in an environment where I feel like, I don't like this, like, I'll remove myself. Like, I had a prayer with one of my girlfriends. I was like, yo, I don't ever want to feel like I'm moving backwards. At one point, I thought I was, like, moving backwards. I was like, oh, no, let me move forward. Like, I felt like I was about to take a step back. I was like, oh, no, baby girl, no. And I cried about that because I was like, yo, I've been delivered from so many things in my life. And once I felt that feeling of stepping back, I was like, oh, God, deliver me from this, boo-boo. Like, we not, Seth. I had to talk to myself like, oh, Seth, we not going back. Baby girl, we going forward. We were moving forward. We're going forward. We can't step back. And so when I felt that, I was like, God, I, like, went in deep prayer. I went into my prayer closet. I was like, God, oh, no. This is what I want. This is what I need. You said that you'll give me the desires of my heart. You'll give me X, Y, and Z. So, hey, I can't move back. But that's a part of me expressing how I feel. I express how I feel to God. Like, God, like, you tripping. Like, God, like, help me deal with these people on this earth. Because these your kids. Like, God, get your kids. Like, they doing the most. But I express myself. So I pray that you do that. And I pray that you know that your feelings are valid. I hope and pray that you know, like, your emotions, they are valid. But what are you doing to check your emotions? What are you doing to make sure that you are mentally there? Like, some people are walking around and smiling, but they are out of it. Like, they are just gone. Like, they just left the earth. Like, just left the earth. But I pray for that. I pray that you just never forget how amazing you are. Yes, we all have our shit with us. I am not perfect. I'll let people know I am not perfect. It doesn't matter about the title. It doesn't matter what I have. It doesn't matter about, I'm not all together. And because of that, like, I need God every day. Like, because I don't have my stuff all together, like, I need God every day. Like, if I feel like I'm about to miss a prayer, I'll wake up middle of the night like, God, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Let me get my life together. Let me praise you for the things that you have already done in my life. And let me praise you for the things that you will do in my life. I pray for my enemies. I pray for people that may not like me. I pray for people that said something negative to me. I pray for all those people. Because at the end of the day, I still want to be blessed. So I pray that you just never forget that you are great. And it's so crazy because sometimes people don't express themselves because they don't know who they are as a person. But you are amazing. Like, you are so amazing. You are so amazing. But the question is, like, do you really believe that? Like, do you really believe that you're great? Like, do you really believe that you're great? I don't just say stuff because it sounds good. Like, and it's one thing about me, I speak greatness into people. Like, I'm able to see stuff that you can't see. And I'm like, yo, but do you know how much potential you have? I can pull it out of you, but do you want it out of you? Like, do you want that out of you? But you're great. You're amazing. I pray for people that I love. I pray for people that I may not really care for. But I pray to God to give me distance because, you know, the Bible says that He will prepare a table in front of your enemies. He has done that already. He's going to continue to do that. He will make your enemies your footstool. Yeah. That's why I don't like burning bridges with people. I know how to cut you off. I could still be cordial to you, but I ain't gonna do no nasty stuff. I'm not gonna treat you how you treat me, because you know why? I still want to be blessed. You may need me one day, so you shouldn't treat me bad. And it's crazy because that happened to me. We could talk about that on another chat, but I ain't gonna treat you how you treat me. I ain't gonna give you that. I've been delivered from that. I ain't gonna treat you how you treat me. But when you see me, it's gonna shake you, because you're gonna be like, damn, she didn't react how I thought she was gonna react. No, that's because I love God. That's all it is. But I'm from Philly, so there's still that piece of Philly in me that's still kind of like wrestling, like love God or swing. So it's still there, like, love God, no scripture, but she's not afraid to swing. So it's still there. Like, I wrestle with that sometimes, but I take the higher road sometime. So yeah, but I hope and pray that today, I hope that you're able to enjoy your family. I hope and pray that June is even better than May. Like, I pray that you seek whatever you're looking for. I pray that June is nothing but abundance for you, whatever that may look like. Abundance can be different things according to how you define it. But I pray that many blessings come your way. Like, I really pray that for you. And I pray that you know that you deserve that. Like, you deserve the blessings that you want. And I just hope that the remainder of your week is phenomenal. And lastly, I just hope and pray that you just never forget, like, how great you really are. Because you're really great and you're really dope. And I challenge you to look in the mirror and say that to yourself. Like, I love myself. I'm dope. I'm amazing. And I'm going to do the best things for me to protect my peace, to protect my sanity, to protect my mental health. Take care, guys. I hope that you guys enjoy your day off. I don't know if I want to catch up on emails today, but I do want some crabs. So I definitely got to find some place to have some crabs. So have a good day. And again, thank you so much. Tell a friend to follow my YouTube channel. All these videos are posted on there. So I just want to be a blessing to other people and speak my truth. Everything I say on these videos is true. It's my life. It's really my life. But I use my testimony to help somebody be delivered from something they thought they could never get over. If I can get over, so can you. I don't know how long it would take you to get over what you're dealing with, but I'm living proof that, hey, if it happened to me, if God blessed me, He can bless you too. Take care, guys. And again, happy Monday.